On board the Excellence, this is our famous Homes and Hideaways tour. But before we get going, to take care of the housekeeping, to let you know that we do have bathrooms on board. For you guys up top, you gotta come downstairs at the front of the boat, down these steps here. Left or right makes no difference with what you use. All we ask is that you please read carefully of what you can and cannot put into our marine heads. This is delicate as I can say that. But basically, in a nutshell, if you hold that button for at least 10 seconds, we'll get you go. And secondly, and more importantly, in the event that we need to use life jackets, if we're down bottom, they're going to be at the back of the boat underneath the white container that says life jackets. And if you're up top, they're going to be at the back of the boat as well, underneath the blue cushions, as well as up front by the stern. But having said that, are we going to need our life jackets this morning? No! No, we're not, because we're in the capable hands of our wonderful captain. His name is Jamie. If you can be so kind, say hi to Captain Jamie. And we're also in the capable hands of our other wonderful crew members standing right there. His name is Matisse. If you can be so kind, say I like it. Well, it's going to take us a few minutes before we get into the quote-unquote meat of the tour. But before we do, we just give you a brief history of this place that we call home. Now, you can identify us that will seal up, and that is the remnants of that, a program that will be continuing. And over there to the right, that structure that you see there, that is actually known as Cross Island. And that was not your temple, slightly different. Now, quick question. Your ship got in yesterday? Today? Yeah, yesterday, okay, yeah. So you've been around for a while. So you noticed that it was not nailed down, they took it. I'm talking from money to food to gold to even say, the rest of the crew is ready to go back down. He said, in fact, I think I'll stay in Bermuda for a little longer. And to our left, this beige house right on the water side, it is known as Undercliff. And this is where, unfortunately, he wrote his last album. His last album was called Double Fantasy, and that gentleman's name was John Lennon. Yeah.
It's John Lennon's house, right?
Yeah, that's that Eric, yeah. And Captain Jamie and I were talking about this one time at the dock. And I said, Jamie, like, when you think about it, who would do that? Why would anybody do that? Well, Captain Jamie told me a saying I had never heard before in my entire life. He said, Robert, the reason he did that is because it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Yeah, I've never heard that. You do that all the time? You've heard it. Okay. So she said she does it. She said she does it. You've done it. It's known as alongside. And it used to belong to Mr. Harold Congress. He's actually an architect. And this house has actually won awards for its architecture. It's basically an old Bermuda sort of style. Now you see. You know what? I'm gonna park that right there. I'm gonna park that right there. But yeah, he actually married the nanny. And believe it or not, the first wife got that after they got divorced. And the reason they got divorced, unfortunately, they lost a son, and the wife got very depressed, rightfully so. And he, being the typical male, could not deal with her depression. So, as you do, you divorce your wife and you marry the nanny. But he still very much loved her and gave that to her. He said after they got divorced. Now, I don't know if many ladies on board could deal with this because from tree. Now, the Casuarina tree is the tree they brought in to replace the cedar tree that was being decimated between 1940 and 1970. But the unfortunate thing about the Casuarina tree, its roots grow sideways. So whenever we have high winds or hurricanes, a lot of them topple over very easily and just rip up the earth. But we make our own rules, our own laws. However, the city of Hamilton and the town of St. George's, they're what we call corporations. They have their own elected officials, and they're elected by the residents and the business owners of those areas. So they would have their own mayors and aldermen, etc., etc. And we say that because to our right, the greenhouse that we see here, this belonged to the first black mayor of the corporation of Hamilton, and his name was Mr. Cecil Dismont. Now, I know you're looking at that house and you're saying, Robert, needs to do the TLC. Well, you're absolutely correct. Mr. Dismont died back in 2004. And there was a white boat at this dock, and it hadn't moved since he died. It didn't move, I should say. And up until 2019, it says national defense. Well, the dock created our history in 1973. Our then Governor Sir Richard Sharp, he was assassinated. They killed him, they killed his bodyguard, they even killed the dog. You didn't say a word, Lisa. I said they killed his bodyguard, got a peek, and then the dog. And you're all agreeing. So, okay, that's pretty surprise being chased too. That island is known as Edgar's Island, and that was one system that used to take the ammunition around and steal on the island today. Now, I don't know if many of you on board are old enough to remember the name, and that starred the Australian swimmer. Her name was Annette Calloway. Well, a lot of the scenes were shot at our Crystal Caves, and a lot of the scenes were shot right here and as they were filming it burst. And they sent the actors across the floor, but not before going over the edges of the glass, and they got cut out very badly. Now, if you don't remember the movie that was released in 1950, we all know the great duet that came from that, because she did a duet in the UK. Why so much money? Well, in his own words, the world is going to hell in a handbasket. Now, what you know? Smith? You really got a darker song? Oh, did you do that? Now, you're a veteran. Now, listen. For those that have gotten the darkest of 4 feet too high, which means one thing and one thing only. Money talks. Yeah, money. Now you look on the right hand side, you're gonna notice that buttery thing again. Well, that is actually part of his kitchen, and he did a pretty cool thing one time. He actually had these reporters sitting up there in his kitchen, and he had them sitting in these plexiglass chairs. Well, what is cool is that the floor that they were sitting on was made of glass, so they had this feeling of being suspended in the air. But it gets cooler. On this island while they're sitting up there, yeah. And if you look to the right of the dock there, especially this little tiny, see it better. You look to the right of the dock, you're able to see the opening of the okay, fair enough, fair enough. Well, for those of you that follow tennis, tennis was introduced to the United States via Bermuda. And from this terracotta house that we will soon be on left, it is known as Claremont, and this house is our very destination. It was bad, so they had to burn it. Oh, Lisa, I know she had never seen before, so she asked about it. They taught her how to play, gave her a couple of rackets and what have you. And she took that to Staten Island Cricket Club in New York. Now you're going to see that road that you see there to your left. It wraps around the harbor, so it is known as Harbor Road, and that is our narrowest, as we would say, major artery. There are certain points in that road you need to deal with that. Yep, you need to deal with that pipe before you deal with it. Now, you're going to see that pink house there. That is known as Castle Road. The established area they built there, they converted into condominiums for timeshare. And if you gaze over there to your right, you're going to see that building. It has a big tower, pink and yellow building. Well, that site used to be the Louisiana Hotel, one of our main hotels. That site now is a shopping and part of the deal where you know, now that island used to be home to the Cox's family that used to also run the ferry service. Well, they sold the ferry service to the government with the understanding that it would service the island. Well, a lot of times the ferry would go over there, wasting the time, nobody needed the ferry. So they came up with a very simple solution. Inside that little yellow hut that you see in the doctor is a bread bag. If you want to get off the island, you just put your red flag on a plane. Simple as that. You ferry up where you can see it. Unless, at this point of the at this point of the tour, we just break it up a little bit. As you know, I do music. As a matter of fact, I was a music teacher in high school for a couple of years. Across the harbor and see our